Welcome to this Gillick Explains video, and no surprise, I guess, spring 2024, let's look at 4 things to consider before the 5th of April. Now, there might be a 5th snuck in, but the 5th I'm less enthusiastic about, more about that later. So we're going to say, let's get ready, let's not leave everything to the last minute, let's look at individual savings accounts, the junior version of individual savings accounts, let's take a look at pensions, senior and junior, and then a word about the lifetime ISA, that 5th element, if you like. So, from the top, individual savings accounts. Now, the point for mentioning them here is the annual investment limit is £20,000. Quite a few people watching this video won't necessarily have used any or all of that limit, and it is basically a bit of a shame because there's a huge range of things that can be sheltered within an ISA wrapper. Once your investments are within the wrapper, that could be individual shares, bonds, funds, all kinds of other things. They're all sheltered from income tax and capital gains tax. It's a flexible wrapper, so you can take money out if you need to, all right? And there's a lot of choice about how you invest in terms of, you can put a lump sum in, you can drip feed in monthly, you can do a bit of both. It's use it or lose it before the 5th of April, and that's important. If, for example, you only use half the allowance and then you kick yourself in May, you can't go back. Right? There's no process to top it up retrospectively, leaving aside any rule changes that the government might impose, hopefully not here, and transfers and withdrawals are perfectly possible. So what I mean is, if you get fed up with one provider, you can move. That's called a transfer. If you want to pull money out of an ISA, you can do it, but you need to replace it within the same tax year normally so as not to lose the tax benefits. So here you have it, a flexible, tax-efficient product. All I would say is do make sure that if you want to use the full allowance, £20,000 per adult, you do so before the end of the tax year. Now, junior ISAs. So can your kids have an ISA? And the answer is yes, they can. The limit here at the moment is £9,000 per year, per account, if you like. It can be opened by a parent or guardian. Children can't open it themselves, for obvious reasons, I guess. But then anyone can pay in on their behalf. And again, like an ISA, huge range of investments that can be sheltered underneath the junior ISA wrapper. It's like an umbrella, if you like. There's flexibility about how you pay in installments, in a lump sum. There's no income tax or capital gains tax. That's the tax on things going up in value, if you like, if they do, once something's inside the wrapper. But it is use it or lose it. So again, if you've never thought about junior ISAs, or you did one last year and you're thinking, oh, crikey, I didn't realize I'd forgotten, you need to get organized before the 5th of April. Transfers are possible. So if you're fed up with an existing provider, you can transfer in or out. It's not too bad, the admin there. Withdrawals, yes, this is one of the sort of caveats, if you like. Once a child turns 18, they have full control over the account. All right, and as such, they are entitled to take the money out and go around the world on it if they want to. What we would encourage them to do is to potentially roll, which is the default, the junior ISA into an adult ISA and continue to sort of carry on with the tax benefits, if you like. Next up, number 3 on my list, self-invested personal pensions or personal pensions in general. Now, here at the moment, who knows what future governments will do to this area, as well as press speculation, but at the moment, the annual maximum contribution into a self-invested personal pension is £60,000, which includes the basic rate tax relief that the government add on your behalf on top. That's pretty useful. Once inside this tax shelter, there's a huge range of things that can sit inside a zip, shares, funds, bonds, and so on. The tax relief is pretty decent because you get it on the way in automatically, the first 20%. If you're a higher or additional rate taxpayer, you can claim the rest through a tax return. So you're bringing your tax relief up to 40 or 45%. Try matching that anywhere else. All right. You can pay in regularly. That's what most people would choose to do. And there's no income tax, capital gains tax, or inheritance tax implications of having a personal pension. There is a way that, because they're outside of what's called a death estate, you can hand on assets within a personal pension wrapper, inheritance tax-free, something which is not true of ISAs, by the way. Basically, it's use it or lose it. So if you don't use the £60,000 allowance, which comes with a few affordability tests, then you can carry it forward. All right, that is true. But if you let 3 years run on the clock, you've lost it altogether. So be a little bit careful. It's a bit more flexible than an ISA in that respect, but you still need to monitor cumulatively what you've contributed, assuming you want to. You can transfer providers. That's not a problem. You can consolidate other pensions into a self-invested personal pension. The big catch, of course, is unlike an ISA where you could make a withdrawal straight away, even if I don't recommend it necessarily with a pension, the minimum age is 55 at the moment to actually start pulling money back out. And be careful, because there are some sharks out there suggesting you can get money out or borrow it against the value of the fund early. No. Now, there is also a junior version of a SIP. Now, this is for somebody who's looking very long range, but, you know, bank of mum and dad, bank of granny and granddad, for example, there is a way you can give kids a real leg up on the pensions ladder, and that's by opening, as a parent or guardian, what's called a junior self-invested personal pension. Anyone can pay into it. The maximum annual limit is effectively from the family, if you like, 2,880. The government then topped that up to 3,600 every year. And that may not sound like a lot, but if you think about it, you are aiming at getting a child funded for their retirement. So you've got decades for this money to compound potentially. Huge range of things can go into a junior SIP once the money's there in terms of shares, funds and so on, which you'd hope to compound over many, many years. Once again, no income tax, no capital gains tax, potentially no inheritance tax. I mean, the rules can change, I get that at the moment within the shelter. But again, it is a use it or lose it allowance, and a child won't be able to access it under the current rules until they're 55. Frankly, some people would say, and that's a good thing. You know, basically you're trying to force them to think about their future selves. And let's be honest, children are not always brilliant at that. Now, I did say 4 things. You're thinking, good, he's done. But no, there's a 5th. The lifetime ISA, the LISA. Now, yes, on the one hand, this is a scheme a bit like an ISA, but with limitations. It was a scheme opened by the government more recently than the other schemes, designed to get people onto the property ladder, get them saving for their eventual retirement. It does have quite a good tax break attached to it, but it's a pretty inflexible product. So this is a bit more niche. There are people, bank of granny and granddad, who might be able to make use of LISAs when other options have perhaps been exhausted, for example, but it wouldn't be my first port of call. And there are various reasons for that. There are age restrictions on paying in to a lifetime ISA. So there are qualification criteria to do with age. Won't go through all the detail here. You can only use it for a first-time property purchase, and there are lots of rules around what that needs to look like, which again, I'll reference a guide for in more detail later on. Retirement, the minimum age is 60. So lots of conditions, and there are penalties if you get it wrong. So the government will pay up to £1,000 a year into this thing on top of your contribution, but get it wrong in terms of pulling the money out, and there are penalties. They claw it all back again, essentially. Which brings me to the end of this video. So a few reference sources, and for people thinking, crikey, that was quick on lifetime ISAs, here comes some reference sources. So videos, killick.com/learn, tax effective savings tab there. I have a guide, it's not this one here, but I have a guide on tax effective saving with a blue cover. That would be editor@killick.com. That's got all of these different options spelt out in more detail with some charts showing how compounding can work, for example. And if you want to read all about tax effective saving in a more sort of commercial context, if you like, rather than educational, then there is our quarterly magazine, which I edit Confidant, and that again is editor@killick.com.